It was like monthly views was like 1.3 million views a month.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot.
So, and that was like, and I was doing that by only uploading 3 times a week. So I was like, if I can do this daily, I can definitely get enough views like monthly to be able to do this as a living, basically. So it was kind of like almost like a leap of faith, because I got to the end of my exams, and actually like the next week when I finished my final exam, I flew out to LA with Xbox to go see the new Forza.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Track Limits podcast presented by Formula Addict. We are back here in London, and we are actually doing a re-recording with one of the most recognizable creators in the Formula One space, a member of Quadrant. Welcome back to the studio, Aarava.
Hello.
Good to be here again.
We love you too much.
What should I say? No, nice to meet you guys for the first time.
Well, it's cool because I think a lot of the predictions you had in your first episode are probably like not
out
great.
the water.
He's happy we lost the footage of that one.
Ferrari.
We had a lot of hope.
Yes.
All of us had a lot of hope.
Indeed.
And then secondly, we've actually raced online now, which is great.
Yes.
So we can add that element
Exactly. I've seen how quick Mike is. Like,
But did you see them just crash into each other every race?
Oh yeah.
I saw a bit of argy-bargy.
Yeah. Brazil. I remember Brazil. That first lap was ridiculous.
I think you pushed me off, and
get
then when
out
I
of
came
here.
back on, I was like, I'm just gonna go ignore this person beside me, see what happens.
Anyways, but a lot to discuss today. Very happy that you're back here. Thanks again for doing this. Again, our podcast is broken up 3 sections. Q1, you're a veteran now, but Q1, racing-related questions. Q2, more personal, and then Q3, the rapid-fire round. We did actually change a few questions there,
Okay.
Yeah.
so hopefully we'll make it a bit more spicy.
Okay.
Not too spicy.
Yeah. We're trying to keep you out of trouble. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, getting into Q1 though, tell us a bit about yourself for anybody listening, watching that might not know too much about who Aarav is. What do you do? What are you the most proud of?
Okay, so I'm a YouTube content creator. I've been doing it for about 11, 12 years, give or take. Full-time 6 years now since I left university. Mainly F1 content, F1 gaming stuff. My mainstays like career mode stuff, so people like to watch me do the F1 game campaign and stuff like that, and I try and build a story around it. And then, like you said, part of Quadrant as well now in the recent 3 years now since lockdown. So part of Lando Norris's Esports team, which is or content team, which is a lot of fun, and not so much fun when you have to do things like spill your guts, but. Just a F1 content creator, all things F1 gaming per se, on YouTube, and then kind of sprouted out to do stuff on TikTok recently and Insta. Usual, the whole spiel of content creator now, having to put all your eggs into every basket to try and do it. But just F1 obsessed.
And what does that day-to-day life look like then? How do you prioritize certain tasks over others?
It's quite normal actually. I try and wake up at a normal time. Like I think a lot of content creators get stigma of you can wake up when you want. You're going to wake up at midday. And to be fair, some of my flatmates do that. But I very much am alarm on, 8:30, wake up, get a coffee in me, get going by 9 to do, whether it's recording or editing or whatever. And then just basically working till I get the video up because I upload every day. So it's sometimes it might be working till, usual 5 p.m. Sometimes it's all the way to 7 or 8 p.m. because sometimes career mode videos take so bloody long to make. Yeah. Or like today where I've broken it up into pieces. So I've done a bit of recording in the morning, coming here to shoot this, and then I'll go back and commentate and stuff like that. So but it's kind of a normal day really. Obviously Quadrant stuff's a bit more left field with Lando's schedule. It's kind of almost he's free in a month on this day. So can you be there? Okay, I'll try and make it because you want to try and make every video you can with Lando, especially because it's just a bit more fun with all of us as a group there. And then obviously you have the usual trips and whatever to Grand Prix or such and such. But day to day, I try and keep it quite normal because I like that structure of my life. I'm very organized with Excel spreadsheets for my schedule and everything that. Wow. So very militant with it of what I'm doing.
And then those early days, I mean, we're going to go more into your personal story and how you got into this, but when it comes to sim racing in particular, how did you know that was the type of content you wanted to put out as opposed to only doing reflection episodes on races and stuff like that?
Well, initially I didn't actually even start with F1 stuff. So I started my current channel whilst I was in A level, so just before uni level in school.
We're what is that?
Yeah. So the 2 years just before university, I was or I guess I don't know, college maybe for you guys or something like that. that. So that's when I started this channel. But I actually before that was testing like different stuff. I'd play like random games like Red Dead Redemption and stuff like that on YouTube on like a previous channel, just because I loved gaming. Like I've been gaming.
FIFA?
Yeah, a bit of FIFA as well. Okay. I've loved gaming my whole life, you know, since a kid, you know, like from PS2 days or whatever. So yeah, just trying different things out. Obviously got inspired by a lot of YouTubers that I used to watch way back then, you know, people like even like KSI back in the day, like 2012, playing FIFA and stuff like that. But then obviously I had a passion for F1 and I was like, oh, I'm going to start playing the F1 game. And then it was like, oh, at the time, maybe not now, but at the time I was like, oh, I'm pretty handy actually. I'm probably quite quick at the F1 game at the time. Now, very much not so. I mean, I'm even slower than Nicky over here. So.
No.
He's like, ooh.
Yeah, don't start that. Let's not start that.
Hashtag Mikey.
We'll get to that later.
So I thought, okay, I really like F1, and you know, on YouTube you kind of need a niche of like, you know, this is my bread and butter, and I was really into F1. I was getting really into it in terms of also like wanting to maybe do it as a career in university on like the engineering side of things. So I was like, oh, why don't I make videos on F1? And then I just fell in love with the whole storytelling aspect of it, and I've always been quite creative with like, you know, stories, and like growing up always like loved watching so many TV shows. So I just love an idea of building a story. So I got really into that basically. But with F1, it was just a case of I loved F1 as much as I did football at the time, but there were so many more FIFA creators at the time, and I was rubbish at FIFA. I don't know about any of you guys. I'm rubbish at FIFA, so I was like, F1, I can, you know, I'm getting better at it as I start doing the video. So I was like, let's go with F1. It's a big passion of mine, and at the time, not many people were doing it. Like in 2012, when I started, the biggest F1 dedicated creator, I think the ceiling, his size was like 38,000 subscribers.
Wow. Oh, wow.
That was the ceiling of F1 gaming channels when I started. And now the ceiling is technically me at the moment. So yeah, it's come a long way. But yeah, back then it was a case of no one's doing it. So yeah, let's indulge in this passion basically of F1 gaming.
Did it take you a while to grind? Did you have to grind through a few years to get it out there, or did the content instantly hit because it is a niche market?
Yeah, no. Back then, you know, even YouTube per se, like gaming on YouTube was so much smaller back then. You know, there was no TikTok or anything like that to promote it or anything like that. Yeah. It was basically just word of mouth on Twitter, and then maybe you get a little glimpse of like, you know, bit of traction when the new game comes out. But it was a slow grind. I've never really had a big blow up moment, I would say. I've always, like, if you look at my stats, like it's all just like a consistent growth, which I like, because sometimes, you know, you can kind of have a problem of like lightning in a bottle where like you just blow up and then you can't maintain it, or you can't keep that, whereas I feel like I've just had a steady climb. So yeah, it was a grind. Like I remember it took like a year to get like 300 subs. And then it took another year to get 1,000 subs, another 700 subs.
So you're doubling and doubling.
Yeah,
so
and then it slowly starts to snowball a bit of getting a bit more consistent. But like, it's always been a bit of a grind, really. So especially back then, because like, like at 300 subscribers, you're like, I was like in my like sixth form common room, like doing like classes, and then out of classes, like I would get I had my YouTube set up on email for if I got a subscriber. So I got one email for every subscriber, and I'll be there like, I got one.
That's a mini win then. Yeah.
You can quit school.
Yeah. Like one email. So it's kind of crazy to think now, like if I had that on right now, it'd be absolutely mental. But yeah, it's kind of mad how I used to get so excited about one subscriber in the day back then. So it was a proper grind that I have to remind myself of how tough it was really to start out.
It shows your passion for it. Like you're very passionate about it.
Is that something?
It goes to show because you have such good content as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm totally like invested. Like it's my life. It's like, you know, maybe to the detriment sometimes, but it's a big part of my personality of like, this is what I love to do. You know, if I'm not doing anything, I'll be making content. Like if I've got no plans to go out with people or, you know, do this or go somewhere or watch F1, I'll be thinking about content, you know, like, you know, on a plane, like taking a flight over, thinking about, oh, what videos can I do on this trip, or, you know, when I get back or anything like that. So it engrosses my life, but like in a really good way.
Yeah. So I was going to say, like, what do you miss about being such a small content creator back then?
Ooh,
compared to now.
I think just it was kind of like the Wild West nature of it back then, because like not even just the size of us, it was just back then you didn't really know what would do well on YouTube with F1 content, so it was just the Wild West of like, let's try this idea and this idea, whatever. Like, I used to do these wacky ideas where I would like take the like, you know, people are really into hot laps on F1. I would take the piss out of it and be like, this is my hot lap masterclass. And it was a hot lap where I'll just cut so many corners and I would love it, comedically commentate over it. And to the point where I think at the time I made it quite infamous about, you know, Canada, Montreal, the last chicane. I coined the phrase, the Canadian bunny hop over the curbs.
Love it.
And, you know, it just kind of stuck and just kind of, you know, being a bit funny with that. But then also, just trying to hone in like what I actually wanted to do. And it's quite an interesting process because now obviously I know what I want to do. I know I'm quite militant with like, you know, even like my editing, like with a video, I'll know like, 8 minutes, the qualifying has to end for this video. Then I do the race. That's to about 30 minutes. And it's kind of, you know, a format that, you know, whereas back then it was like all new territory, learning like what's the best way, like how much of quality of the F1 game do you want to see? Do they want the race straight away? And then also there's so much more collaboration, I think, back then when you're all so small, whereas now everyone's so busy. Like it's not a case of like you're not mates or anything. It's just more so, oh, do you want to record on Friday? I'm busy, mate. I've got this and that. You want to record on Wednesday? Even like even like us trying to organize, we try to do some races. I got on with you two like one weekend, and then the subsequent like 3 weekends we're like, oh, I want to hop on, but I've got to go X, Y, and Z, whatever. So you just get busy as you grow up. Whereas back then, I think a lot of us were all still in school or uni, so it's like free reign, you know, like
I got to study.
The real world,
like uni life's like, oh, I got Alexa, I can buy Alexa, you know, I can just record or whatever. So I think I do miss that little camaraderie, I guess, as like a small knit community. Because now you're like massive, like you have like F1 Twitter, which is this engulfing behemoth of fire. Whereas
Henny loves it.
I love it.
Do you?
Yeah, I love going there, just messing with people, saying their most random, and then it's just a
He's
thread.
got like a burner.
Oh yeah,
100%.
I can't use my own. No way.
Swish is the worst host ever.
And he's just in the background stirring the pot.
Track limits ass.
Exactly. So it felt like the community was a lot more tight knit, even on Twitter or Insta, because like everyone knew everyone. Whereas like now, there's like creators that like are on TikTok that like, you know, will follow me back or whatever, like that will follow me and I'll follow them back, and I'm like, you've got like, you know, a couple of thousand followers. I'd never heard of you. Whereas back then you knew everyone. So it's kind of like a really nice community vibe like that. But at the same time, obviously, it's great now that so many people are popping up and, you know, making, you know, their own lane for themselves. And you can do that now because the space is so much bigger now for F1. Not even gaming, just like F1, you know, talk, like you said, like talking about F1, even like, you know, with you guys now, like a podcast like this coming up 10 years ago never would have happened. 100%. Like, you know, you just wouldn't have the audience for it, first of all, and then you wouldn't have the means of knowing like, oh, what do people want to see, or you know, creators to interview, or getting access to drivers. No, absolutely not. Like you got, I think you had what was it, you had Carrera on, was it?
Yeah, we got one.
Yeah. So like, you know, stuff like that, you just would never have got. Like, no one was interacting with actual drivers back then. Whereas now it's like, oh, cool, I can, you know, if I've got a big enough audience or, you know, legitimacy, you can DM someone and they'll maybe reply and get back to you.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest one. You can just DM anybody now and just hopefully get connected.
Yeah.
But for you now, you've been in the gaming world and especially the sim racing world for so long. Where do you see the future of sim racing?
It's interesting. Obviously, there's two kind of realms with sim racing. There's obviously like the stuff I do, which is like content, like purely just like entertainment value, and then there's obviously the whole esports side, which has grown so much. Like, you know, when I started making videos, it wasn't called it was just league racing. Like, you just, you know, joined a league, and that was just off word of mouth or Twitter. Like, you know, one of my closest mates now who works in the industry, he actually just got a new job at F1 Arcade as a videographer, but I met him via a league race in 2012. Stayed friends with him the whole time. He then worked at Veloce, who's the company that runs Quadrant in the background, and he worked for Quadrant then, and we carried on working with each other for 10 years in some capacity through a league race. That's basically class. So it has come a long way, and obviously now you've got F1 teams in F1 esports, so it's getting massive. I think in terms of where it goes, I think with the esports side, they kind of have to figure out what they want to do exactly, because I think COVID threw them off a little bit with the whole remote kind of racing. They had a good thing going. Like, they used to go to one arena actually in Fulham, And you'd have all the teams there.
Yep.
There was a little bit of a private audience. It was quite cool. It was kind of almost your standard esports, like you see Call
It's
of
an
Duty.
event, like.
Yeah, so you see Call of Duty events like that, and the hope was they build it up like that. But then obviously COVID came along, and since then they've done only remote. So they're gonna have to decide what they want to do. I think a lot of drivers in the esports want to go back to those live events, just also for the kind of, I don't know, the nature of like being all together in one room, and you can have a bit of fun and a laugh with people. And obviously recently there's been a lot of talk about cheating and stuff like that. So in a live event, when the equipment's provided
Everyone's
by
on
F1,
land.
it's on, you're not going to be able to cheat unless you're really, really sneaky about it.
Somehow.
And then in terms of content stuff, it's just about carrying on, really, pushing the ceiling. Like I said, the ceiling for creators back then when I started was 38K. Now the ceiling's kind of like myself and my fellow creator, Ben, Tim at Marduk, like at 700K for like a dedicated F1 gaming channel. So it's just about pushing that ceiling of, can we get to 1 million subs? And then when we get there, you just keep on going, basically, because I think a lot of you guys will know in terms of like, business stuff, like you might have goals, but I think a lot of us have that same mindset of just, you keep going, you don't get to the peak and then you stop. You kind of you want more and more, like you just
Are you competitive though? Like, are you and Ben like, hey, I'm getting closer, I'm getting closer?
No. We've known each other since we started, basically. I think when I had 300 subs, he was fortunate enough to be able to do it full time quicker, because I think he got to a point where he was in uni first year, and I think he quit uni to then pursue it full time, whereas I stayed in uni because I wasn't at a point yet to go full time. So, but the whole time, we've remained friends. Obviously, we used to make videos together. Now we're a lot more busy with our own personal lives, so we don't make that many videos together. But no, like the other day, I surpassed him on subscriber count, and out of the blue, I didn't expect it. He sent me a DM like, look, congrats, mate, like really like respect and whatever.
That's cool. It's nice camaraderie there. Like.
And I was like, I wasn't even thinking about it, to be fair, and he just sent me this random DM, and it's like, we have like, complete respect for each other, of like, both of us came from the same point, and both of us didn't think this ceiling was here of like, let alone 700K, like 100K subs. And, both of us have kind of, passed these different milestones, and it's just kind of cool to push. And, we're talking about like, hopefully the next game is a lot better, because F1 22 was
scratch.
Questionable.
Yeah. I mean, less of this couch stuff.
I actually think they took this from the game.
They copied this.
When you sat down, you're like, it's a lot softer. I was like, maybe they've taken this couch from F1, to be honest. It could be. But so we were talking about it like, hopefully the next game's better, so we can all eat, we can all do much better. Because this year, up and down, from me down to channels that are like on a couple of thousand subs, everyone's got the same opinion of this last game cycle year from July to July has been very rough in terms of getting people interested in watching the content. Numbers are a little bit down, probably a little bit of COVID kind of inflation as well, because everyone was at home watching videos. But, everyone's in the same boat of like, oh, this game was rough. And then we're all in the same boat of hoping that all of us can do better next year. And, there's no competition. It's kind of like, there's enough to go around. Everyone can have their own little niche. My thing's like story-driven career modes. Ben's more like, online co-op career and stuff. Then you got like Jan Otmir doing like esports, and, people watch him just because he's really fast. So everyone has their own lanes, and there's enough to go around, basically. So I don't think there's ever been that much competition, really, no, which is good. Like, obviously, it just means everyone's trying to prop up the ceiling, basically, I guess, for the whole industry of F1 gaming, I guess.
Right. And are you concerned? I mean, I know a lot of creators that we speak to, they all have like one game they're really good at, and then when that game loses relevance, they tend to have to either adapt or die. Right. And so like for you, are you concerned that, hey, if the next F1 game is not relevant, I need to start thinking about 2-3 other games that I'm starting to play a lot more too?
It does play into my mind a little bit, because I've always felt like the F1 game, like on YouTube, we're kind of a couple of years behind where FIFA is now, like in terms of like the level of like subscribers or like views per video.
I was gonna say they don't have couches though, but
no, that's not. No, well, you never know with EAFC now. It's like copy going to the next one. They've lost that license, so it might be different now. But I've always felt like we're a couple, like maybe 7 years behind FIFA in terms of where that game is on YouTube. And the same thing, obviously, with F1 as a sport. Obviously, football's so global; it's like gone clear. But F1 itself has tried to catch up a bit. So in the same kind of pattern, we're maybe a couple of years behind. And I've seen, FIFA creators, obviously, sometimes the FIFA game's gone downhill a bit and they're, slump a little bit. They're still doing it as a full-time job, but it's maybe not as lucrative anymore. And it does play in your mind a little bit. But at the same time, like the thing is with me, like I just like F1. Like I've tried so many times to play other racing games. And my audience is the same as me. They don't like anything but F1. And I'm the same way. Like I've tried to play these games like Project Cars or, all these other, all these Forza or anything like that. I have a really good relationship with Xbox, and they always send me stuff for Forza. I even had the privilege of going out to E3 back in 2017 to see the new Forza game. Really thankful for that, and I really love playing the game. Only in a spurt. There's only so much I can play of Forza, and then my interest really drops off. Whereas with F1, I can turn up every day, and I just love playing it. So it's a bit of a catch-22 of like, that does play on my mind a little bit, but at the same time, I know myself. If I stick true to myself, I'll only ever really want to play the F1 game and make content on it. But at the moment, like I said, because we're so many years behind, I think it's like a problem that might come up down the line, and by that point, like you said, maybe I'm going to evolve a little bit. I think doing Quadrant has definitely helped in terms of, dispersing all my eggs into different baskets, doing more IRL content. And then I think, trying to pivot into doing more presenting stuff potentially or on camera. And I don't know, I always felt like maybe down the line, 10 years time, whatever, when I'm too old to be playing the game or whatever, or making content, maybe I pivot to doing like, presenting in the industry. But at the moment, I'm quite content with playing the game because I just love it so much. And I just love making the content that I make.
Yeah. And you have a second channel, right?
Yeah. So in the first version of this podcast, I was talking about doing that second channel, setting it up. So now it's up and running. I actually just recently got enough viewers to actually get into the YouTube partner program for that channel as well now.
Amazing. Congrats.
So, but yeah, thank you. So that's all set up and running with, I've got a few different writers that I can rotate around to send me scripts, and it's kind of back and forth of like, oh, can we tweak this? And then I've got an editor now who edits my shorts for all my main channel and my TikTok, but also now I've taken him on to do the editing for that second channel as well. Nice. So it's pretty a nice setup of like, I can just turn up every week, work with the writer a little bit for what we're going to do, but then it's just like turn up, shoot the video, chuck it over, edit, done. And it's like a nice little avenue to like explore presenting, and almost like a online CV in a way of like, if you ever wanted to know what I'm like as a presenter, well, I know I don't do as much camera stuff on my main channel. My second channel is right there now of like, this is how it is. If I was a presenter, this is how it would be basically. So yeah, that's been up and running. It's going quite well actually in terms of growth. And it's just a nice avenue to talk about real F1 because I don't actually do a lot of that on my main channel. Funnily enough, like I do meme reviews like off Reddit posts.
Seen it, hilarious.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. Whereas in terms of serious talk about F1, don't really do it anymore. I used to a little bit like when it was the Wild West of content back in the day. You do everything. You do like a race review, race preview. You try and do everything.
In the race.
In the race and stuff like that. You do everything just to try and find what people would want to watch. Whereas now I'm like, okay, I know my niche is gaming stuff, but obviously I'm still a massive F1 fan. I have my own opinions about stuff. So it's nice to have that outlet now. And even like doing podcasts like this as well, obviously being able to talk about real F1 as we did on the first podcast, and now very wildly different predictions maybe talking about how the season's going so far.
Incredible. I think that wraps up Q1. I mean, Mikey, Henny, verdict?
Should we give him a yellow?
Let's give him a yellow.
Yeah.
Let's give him a yellow.
Yellow.
Give him a yellow.
Sector? Yeah, why not?
I don't think we've ever given a person
No, this is our first yellow.
Well, have we not? Oh, now I feel bad. Okay, it's okay. There's
All right, I'll give you a green. It's all good.
Right.
You green
We'll do a...
What does a yellow sector mean?
You were slow, I guess.
Because you already done your previous pod, so you were a little bit
comparing. Okay,
yeah, we're comparing.
Well, we'll see if Aarav can go up, potentially get a purple sector 2. Yeah. We'll see if that happens. But stay tuned, guys. Welcome back to the Track Limits podcast. We're now getting into Sector 2, where we're going to talk a little bit more about Aarav's personal life and dive a little bit into how you became who you were. So, or how you are, not who you were.
Damn. Where did he go?
I'm a very different person.
Every day you're evolving, trust me.
In 2 months.
But anyway, so you went to Queen's Mary University, right?
Yes. Oh, did you research?
I did a little bit. I went on LinkedIn, I think.
No.
LinkedIn is the best.
I thought we hired the FBI.
Oh, yeah, we
hired the FBI. What are you talking about?
We had a private investigator look at everything you did.
Okay, yeah.
But tell me, like, what did you study when you went to college? Did you have the idea of, like, this is my career that I'm going to pick within content creation, or was it, like, very different?
Yeah, it was wildly different. So, yeah, like you said, I went to Queen Mary here in London, not too far from here, to be fair, Mile End. And I did aerospace engineering.
Jesus.
So my thought process was I actually want to be an aerodynamicist in F1. So yeah, very different path to content creation, let's say.
And very specific.
Yeah, really specific as well, because I just knew I was so into F1 in the same way that I knew I wanted to do F1 content. I was so laser focused on I want to be in F1. I want to do aero in F1. No other motorsport. I want to do F1. So yeah, did aerospace engineering. And basically just at the time I was very into books, like into maths and everything like that. That was my bread and butter. Like I did art up till university, but at the same time, like maths was always my best subject. Just came to me naturally. Earlier in my life, like, you know, classic like Indian parent trope, they wanted me to become a doctor. So probably at 13, I was like, oh, I'll go into medicine. Yeah. Thank God I didn't choose that. One, I just don't think I'm smart enough to have kept up with medicine stuff. Also, two, it's terrible to be a doctor right now here in the UK under the NHS. So thank God I missed that bullet. So the next best thing was, okay, I'm good at maths, so I'll just do engineering. And yeah, I wanted to go into F1 basically. I started my channel 2 years before I went to uni, just as a hobby. The whole way through uni, it was a hobby. And then about third year, I had to make a decision kind of in my own head about what I wanted to do, because I was going to be fine. I got a 2-1 in my degree, you know, pretty solid result for the degree.
What does that mean, by the way? A
2-1. So first is the best you can get.
Oh.
And so 2-1 is the next best. 2-1's what you want to aim for. Like minimum, you want to get 2-1. If you get 2-2, it's going to be really difficult to get a job somewhere.
Oh, wow.
Like, because they're like, how did you not manage a 2-1 at least? Like, come on. And then first is like the best.
So that's like a grading scale?
Yeah, grading scale.
Okay.
So you have like first, 2-1, 2-2, and then anything above that, you may as well
there's no
drop out.
1-1.
No, it's just it's called a first.
Okay.
You got a first in your degree. If you got a first class degree, pretty damn solid. You can probably do a master's or, you know, land a pretty good job. 2-1's like industry standard. Like if you get 2-1, that's calm. Like everyone else, 2-1, 2-2, a little bit difficult.
Yikes.
You know, you might not get the field you wanted to go in. So yeah, got a 2-1. Got a first in my dissertation. You know, really, it was doing very well in my engineering degree. But halfway through third year, I was like, my YouTube channel got to a point where it's pretty much a part-time job. Like I had friends who worked in like a Costa or whatever, like coffee shop, and that for them was my YouTube channel. Like it was my part-time job basically. But I basically looked at the numbers. I was like, if I did, because I was uploading like three times a week around all my studies, my lectures, and doing exams, and I was even uploading 3 times a week in the middle of exam season.
Brilliant. Love the commitment.
Make the video, and then for the whole week I did my exams, but the videos would be going up in the background.
Smart.
But so yeah, I kept it going the whole time. But I was like looking at the numbers, going, if I uploaded every day, I reckon I could just about do this full time. Maybe not move out straight away from my parents' house, but I could maybe start to save up to move out.
Curious, what were those numbers like? That you were confident in that decision?
Like monthly views was like 1.3 million views a month.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot.
So, and that was like, and I was doing that by only uploading 3 times a week. So I was like, if I can do this daily, I can definitely get enough views like monthly to be able to do this as a living, basically. So it was kind of like almost like a leap of faith, because I got to the end of my exams, and actually like the next week when I finished my final exam, I flew out to LA with Xbox to go see the new Forza. And that was kind of, I think that trip woke me up a little bit of like, okay, I've just been invited out by Xbox themselves to go to this. I think I have something good going here. Like, clearly they want me. Clearly I'm okay enough at content to do this. And then if I upload daily, maybe I can do it. So I got my degree. I told my parents, like, okay, give me a year just to kind of take a leap of faith and see how it goes. And then I just never looked back. So I just retired my degree to the shelf. And then like within 2 years of doing that, I had enough to saved up to be able to move out my parents' house. So yeah, I was kind of very much like engineering F1. And then through the last year, kind of realized, you know what? A lot of these F1 engineers, all they do is sit behind a desk and crunch numbers, whereas I had a very different picture in my head of what it was like. I was picturing like, you know, when Adrian Newey was like years ago drawing on a board, this is how the car will look. And because I'm very into art and I was really into drawing and painting, I was like, for whatever reason, I had in my head like, I'd be able to draw the car, we can make it like that. And then I got to uni and I did my third year, and I was like, it's a lot of just computational, like let's do CFD runs on this and leave the PC, like my lecturer lecturer told me, like, when you're doing your CFD, what do you do whilst you're doing it? Just go have a cake, have a tea. Just
let it do it. Yeah.
Let the computer do it. And you just sat at a desk, and I was like, right, so I'm doing all this just for a desk job. And I was like, I actually don't want to just do a desk job like this. So I just thought, just screw it. I'll just, take this leap. And I just, when you have a gut feeling of like what you should do, of like, this is the right choice, I should just do it. Or like, the back of your head, you've already made your mind up, kind of like. I was like, even when I went to uni, I didn't get into my first choice of uni. I wanted to go to, I think it was either Southampton University, which is very well known for producing F1 aerodynamicists. Like even Adrian Newey, I think, had a link to Southampton Uni. Like he would go back for like guest talks and stuff.
Wow.
So I wanted to go there. Didn't get in because I was good at maths, but my physics was a bit subpar. Like I'm really good at numbers, but like explanation stuff, absolutely no chance. So like my maths was fine, like A or whatever, but my physics was like B, and they needed AA to get in. So, but even that was like a, like a background thing of, okay, didn't get to my first choice, didn't get to my second choice. I had to go through clearing, which is like, if you don't get into your two choices, there's basically like a back catalogue in the UK of like this thing called clearing, where you basically have all these open spaces for unis, and they kind of put you in, like you get to choose basically like what's left. And I saw Queen Mary in London, and in the back of my head, I remember I was in my room in my parents' house, and I was like, if I went to this London uni, I know I could still do YouTube whilst I'm at uni, because I don't have to move my setup. Can you imagine moving a whole YouTube setup into a uni dorm in Surrey or Southampton or whatever? So I did actually go to my dorm for first year, but then I moved back home for the next 2 years and just commuted across London, because my parents' house is in West London and this uni was in East London. But in the back of my head, whilst I was accepting this place, I just thought, I can still do YouTube and maybe that might pan out. And I kind of believed in myself, like, I reckon I could still take this channel somewhere, because I'd always said to my school friends, like, once I get to 1,000 subs, I'll happy like quit. I'm happy. I'm happy. I could quit. And I was fully prepared to do that. I even went to uni in the first 2 weeks, where it's like freshers week, where you non-stop partying. I was like to my mate, like, I don't think I'm going to upload any videos. And then like the next week, I got an early copy of the next F1 game. And I was like, okay, I should probably, take the opportunity. And then I got back into it. My mind went back into content stuff. And I just kind of knew, like, let's keep this on the back burner, because even though this uni stuff's calm, I'm smart enough to go to university and do engineering. I was like, something in the back of my head's going, no, I think you need to be more creative and do content stuff. And I've always been creative, and I've always loved like making stuff, whether it's drawing, painting, or like videos now, or like storylines in content. So I think always in the back of my head, I knew, like, no, you know what, let's keep this on the back burner. And it's paid off, because I think everything happened for a reason. My mum always used to say, things happen for a reason. Like, everything happens for a reason. And now I definitely know, not getting into my first two choices of uni, that was for a reason in my mind now, because I went through clearing, went to a London uni, kept my YouTube channel going, and now I'm laughing in terms of like, I would have been miserable like at this desk job, and like I've gone so much closer to F1 than I would have ever got with like engineering, because like with engineering, to get to Adrian Newey's level where you're at a track,
you're grinding,
it's like 30 years. Like, I don't know how old, I think he's like 50 or 60 now. Like, he's close to retirement age. Is he? Yeah. I think he's
don't like, scare the Red Bull fan.
They're like,
I think he's 2 years out from retirement in the UK technically. So it takes years, whereas like within the first year of doing content full time in 2017, I got invited to this event for Williams. They were doing like some sort of like historical event at Silverstone, where they had all these amazing cars, like Nigel Mansell's car, like the old Williams car with the active suspension and everything like that. And I got a pass to go there, and I could film my camera like this close to the cars, seeing them all, hearing them. And I just stood there like, I'm so much closer to F1, even 3 months in, to what I would have been if I tried to get a job in the industry as an engineer. So to this day, I count my lucky stars of how things just fell into place in terms of like what happened. And it's why I'm a firm believer of what my mum said, of like, things just do happen for a reason, basically.
If it's meant for you, it won't pass you by.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also like, you just make the most of what you get, if something doesn't go your way, you're going to make the most of whatever happens then down that road. And I've always believed you can work your way out of whatever situation you're in if you just put your mind to it, basically.
Like I think we're going to quit. We have 2,000 subscribers. According to his stats, we're quitting.
He's rolling starting. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, we're
Aarava
good.
pushes track limits to retire.
But like, how do you deal with these long hours of creating content? Like, we had esports racers saying, yeah, we spend like 16 hours sitting and practicing and
Yeah.
going through it. Like,
That's
how do
Mikey.
you do it? Yeah, like this one.
And that's just him. Yeah, that's just him.
I should ask you this question.
That's just him. That was him before he hopped on. For that race.
I have proof 5 laps in Australia. I got that time.
Nah.
That is-
Honestly,
that's
though,
not bad.
before you answer that question, keep in mind that time we did race, the night before we had come back from a bar, and him and I did laps because we were like, we can't disappoint Aarava. Like, we can't disappoint Aarava.
We were under so much pressure.
We legitimately had to restart like 25 times. Both him and I could not even put the car on track. Like, we were like, oh, I'm in the gravel. Oh, I'm in the gravel.
Restart.
To be fair, it was 4 a.m. in the morning.
It was
after.
4 a.m. in the morning.
A few drinks.
Sorry. How do you spend all the time?
Yeah.
I mean, it's maybe not quite 16 hours on the sim,
Yeah.
because those guys are, I mean, esports, like,
On another level.
it's mental. Like,
Nuts.
to be honest, you going back to that question about how in the future, I think they absolutely need to somehow limit how much hours they spend, because it's a bit ridiculous, because they need to do it like real F1 where there's limited testing. Because I think the less testing you do, the more of an interesting race you have. Like, these guys are like so close. It's just a DRS straight
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And to actually make like a real F1 race, they need to cut the practice time, because they're like robots, like the amount of hours they do. But no, in terms of how I do all the hours, it's just because I love it. I just love doing it. Like I said, if I have a blank day on a Saturday, I'll just know, okay, that's more time to make a video, because I try and upload every day, because I'm just so grateful for the fact of what I get to do. Like, I think something my parents kind of built into me of like, you got to work so hard to get where you are, especially like, you know, coming from my background as well of like, you know, in the UK, like, you know, even people looking at your name or your skin color or whatever, you just got to work 10 times harder just to get in the room. And I've always carried that with me of like, you just got to work hard. So the fact that I actually get to do gaming as a job, I'm like, oh, I'm so thankful. So I've got to turn up every day to just say thank you to, you know, all my viewers that you let me do this as a job. So I just love doing it, basically. You know, I've had so many convos with mates or like even my girlfriend of like, you know, yeah, I make compromises every single week, obviously, of like, oh, do you want to go out? Do you want to, you know, go on a date, or you want to do this or that? And it's a constant compromise of like, okay, I'm going out on Saturday, Sunday, so I've got to get ahead by 2 videos. I've got to make 2 videos, 2 different days in the week to get ahead for those 2 videos on the weekend. Wow. It's a constant compromise. And it's almost like I don't know, I would say almost like an addiction in a way of like, I'm so addicted to getting that daily upload done. Like, it's a little checkbox, a little hit of serotonin of like, done. And
that's
maybe
a great concept you have.
Yeah,
though. That's brilliant.
yeah.
Your schedule as well.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
Need to,
like, I've got a whole like Excel. It basically every year when the new year starts, I do a black Excel every day of the week, all the way down to from January to December. And I block in like in yellow, like big events I've got, or I'm away for a holiday, or like even like a night out, I'll put in yellow, I'm out on this night, just so I know ahead of time. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be out this day. That's in yellow. That means the next day I'm going to be really hungover. Yeah. So I need to make a video for then to complete my life's complete schedule, because I just thrive off having that like organization. I think that's the only way I did uni and YouTube as well, is that time management. Like, that's always my, like, apart from like being quite creative with what I do, I think one of my strengths of like YouTube wise is not even anything to do with the content. It's actually more just time management of like being able to juggle everything. Like even now, juggling my YouTube channel, now my second channel, Quadrant, going away on trips, still having a social life of going out with friends and going to like, you know, raves or whatever, or, you know, my girlfriend constantly wants to do stuff on the weekend. So it's all about juggling that. And the only way I can do it is by having this great time management. So it's something I've always prided myself on. But yeah, in terms of doing the hours, it's just like, if I'm not doing anything, like if I'm just sat in my flat for like an hour, like I can enjoy like lounging around with my girlfriend, like watching Netflix or whatever. Like, there's this great show like Night Agent on Netflix right now.
Oh, watching it, yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm engrossed in it. We're halfway through, and this one Sunday we just spent 4 hours watching that, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. But the second we agreed I was going to go home, I was like, right, I need to race home because I need to make this video. That was really fun. But at the same time, now I'm like back into content mode of like, let's do this. And if I've got a free hour in the flat, I'm like, oh, like even if I try and relax, I'll be watching something. I'm thinking like, but what video am I doing?
Your
never
brain is
switch
always
off.
working. Yeah.
Yeah, to maybe my detriment as well. Like, there's definitely a part where I feel like eventually, in terms of like who I am as a person, maybe I'm gonna have to evolve eventually, you know, into later years of like trying to switch off a little bit, because it is a bit tough sometimes when you're constantly on like that. But I guess, I don't know, when I look at like, you know, successful people and like watch podcasts of like businessmen or like people who are really successful, I feel like everyone has that affliction of like they're always on. That's like the curse of like getting somewhere in business or getting somewhere in like the media industry or any industry really, actually, even like, you know, doctors, whatever, you know, you're not going to be able to switch off sometimes because you're so switched on. But I guess the good thing about for me is like I just love it so much, so it's never like a burnout thing. But I guess there might be a time where it might have to slow down. I might have to learn that as a person how to slow down.
With that schedule you just talked about there, what are some of the big goals or personal goals that you want to achieve now this year coming?
1 million subs.
Because you got 2 channels now, so like, is it to grow the other channel, or are you still trying to just...
So obviously, in terms of the main channel, I mean, I think the long-term goal is 1 million. It won't happen this year, but like every year, I've roughly gained about 100k subs.
Okay,
roughly. So I think in 3 years' time, it's a realistic goal to hopefully hit a million, which is going to be mental. Like that will be crazy. I went to dinner with my mates the other day, and they've been my mates since school, so they've been there from the get-go, from like 0 subscribers to now. They remember me sat in the common room going, "Oh, I've got an email for one." So he was like, "You know, mate, when you get to 1 million, that's going to be nuts." Like,
don't you get a plaque from YouTube?
Yeah, so I've got a silver one for 100k. Yeah. And then you get a
gold, right?
Yeah, it's a gold. It's a gold plaque. Yeah. I got one of the original plaques though from YouTube, the older version.
Oh,
so
no.
right now it's a slab of metal, and they engrave the play button into it.
Yep.
But I've got the old one for 100k, which was this glass case and a little silver button, all in silver.
Oh.
And it's in a glass case, so it's an old style one.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I've got a real old school one. And it really dates
We'll have
me.
it right here.
A
photo of it.
It really dates me. And there's probably a photo on my Instagram of me holding it up. Like, it really dates me in terms of when I started YouTube, because that was back when those plaques looked like that. But yeah, when he was like, when you get to that, like me and him are very much in the same vibe of like, we love going out and like going to these D&B raves. So he was like, when you hit 1 million, we absolutely have to go so hard and celebrate. And I was like,
we'll be there.
Yeah,
just have to fly down.
Well, we didn't see Dimension at the start of the year because he bloody cancelled. So we'll go to some Dimension rave and like we'll just play it up. But yeah, he was like, when you get to that, and it was someone else saying it to me, like someone who's been there from the start, really hit me of like, yeah, you know what, that is mad. Like you've remembered me saying like, oh, we're gonna hit 10,000 or 100k, and now we're here talking about 1 million subscribers, especially for F1. Like, there's not a single dedicated F1 creator like that, just is F1. There's obviously other sim races like Jimmy Broadbent and all this stuff that does like all these different racing games, but in terms of F1 dedicated, there's no one at 1 million, and so that will be a real big like glass shatter moment, pinch me moment of like, you know, oh my god. But
you already have that because you already have your own livery
in the game.
In the game, of your own character.
F1 2021, that was insane.
Yeah, that must have been like
that was you know what, actually, I've got a funny story about that with my dad. Like that was the first time like my dad like really like directly told me like, oh, I'm so proud and like happy, because like my parents, like typical Indian parents, really reserved. You know, we don't talk, like compared to some of my other friends, my relationship with my parents is very like, you know, stringent, like very rigid, don't really open up too much. But when that came out on F1 2021, got my own livery, like in the game it boots up, and on the main, so I've got a catchphrase of like biblical scenes or anything crazy. The fact that the game opened up and to go to the livery to like purchase it for free or whatever, it said biblical scenes in the game, in a game that shipped out globally, you know, PS5, Xbox, PC, everywhere. I was like, it's so weird to think some random who doesn't even know who I am, if they played F1 and booted up that week, they'd be like, what is this? Like, but like, it's in their living room. It's in their living room because it's part of the F1 game. But yeah, so I messaged my mum about it, and she's always been like, oh, that's so awesome. But my dad rarely says too much. And then my mum just relays a message like, oh, my dad's like, your dad's really, really proud. He's showing his mates like on his phone, like look at my son, like look at this, like this. So that was really, really cool. But yeah, like I've already had a lot of milestone moments like that. Like you say, like, you know, even working with Lando, working with an active F1 driver in itself is pretty crazy. Like, you know, if you talk to me like 5 years ago about like, oh, you're going to one day be in like a WhatsApp group chat with an F1 driver. You're going to be able to go to his house and film some videos. I'll be like, what are you on about? Like, what?
Get out of here.
Whereas now it's so normal to me now. But yeah, there's already so many milestones. But like you said, well, like with the second channel as well, like just wanting to grow that as well. I think with that, I'm a little bit more chilled out because it's almost like starting over again.
But you know how, like before you were saying, like, how do I segment your videos? You're already a pro at it now. So
yeah, now it's a bit more like, and also because I'm working with a team, whereas before, like, you know, with my main channel, just me. Whereas like now I've got an editor, writer, so it's a bit more of an easier workflow. But yeah, in terms of goals of that, you're just kind of almost just enjoying that side of the content, really. It's a nice outlet, like I said, for me to explore real F1. And then just, I don't know, just every year I'm always just like, just enjoy what I do, basically. Like, you know, it'd be the worst nightmare if I woke up one year, I'm like, I hate doing this or something like that. It's just honestly enjoy it. No, it's not even the numbers. Like I say about 1 million, but to be honest, I don't really mind that much about subscriber count because really also in terms of like doing it as your full-time job, subscribers mean nothing. It's more about monthly views. But even that, I'm just like, as long as I enjoy the content and I'm, you know, I can happily sustain myself, you know, pay my rent and whatever.
Then you're happy.
Anything else is extra. And it's just the fact that I get to enjoy making content. And every year it's like, what new story can I make up? Because my main thing's like career mode, and I love building these stories around it. And, you know, I think it comes from watching so much TV, and I love TV shows and, you know, getting engrossed in the story. So I kind of almost like to do that with my content. And it's just about like, oh, what cool new story can we do with the F1 game? And obviously, sometimes F1 games are rubbish, like the last one. So you have to make the most of it.
Yeah.
You know, you have to, it's this really poor game, but you got to make the most of it. Like, what kind of cool idea can we do? And sometimes the most creative ideas come from when the game's a bit rubbish.
Like, you have to be creative.
Yeah, you have to. Because this year there's been like like the hype was there for about 2 months, and then this game just died. Like even on the Steam database, when you look at the numbers, like F122 just nosedived. And it's like, right, in these kind of moments, that's when you have to be the most creative. And also that's when you have to show up every day the most. Like I've seen other creators where, you know, you spoke about like, you know, other games like FIFA, like dropping off and, you know, is there a worry you have to divert? You know, some people, they don't diversify, they stick to it, but then they also stop showing up as much. They get inconsistent because they're not enjoying it as much or the numbers aren't there.
Yeah.
But I've learned over the years to just show up. Like even if I'll adjust my thought process of like, okay, this, you know, this series isn't getting the same amount of views as it did last year. Doesn't matter. Let's refocus the goalposts and just enjoy like, okay, we can't get to like, let's say 150k views per episode. The new goalpost I'll aim for is 90k views. I'll be really psyched if we get to that. And it's just reframing it every year. And not kind of getting too full of yourself, almost like you're not. No one's too big to not hit numbers.
Of course.
Like sometimes, you know, a game's poor, or you know, you have it on any channel. You know, sometimes, you know, video just doesn't hit. It's like 10 out of 10 instead of 1 out of 10, and you got to be self-aware enough not to have an ego about it. Of like, you know, what I deserve the, like, no, you just got to put in the work again, then re-go again, basically.
Is that how you deal with negativity as well on social media? Like when you know, every content creator I think has those moments where they're terrified and like their whole life changes the minute they get that first negative comment. Like they don't have that like, oh, I wanted to keep doing this.
Yeah.
How do you get past that? I bet there've been times where, you know, people have said stuff.
Yeah, of course. Outlandish. Like, I think doing it so many years, you kind of, you do get a bit of a thick skin as well, obviously. But, you know, starting out, you always get criticisms. I guess at the start, the criticisms were actually quite good in terms of like, oh, the actual genuine critiques of how to improve the videos and get the quality to where it is now. But even now, there's obviously like some people really don't gel with the whole concept that I have with career mode stuff. Like I love the story aspect of it. And because I've always thought with real F1, like Sky did this advert a couple of years ago. It was this poet they got to do an advert. And this poet read some lines about F1. And it was something about like F1 being more than just a race. It's about the subplots, the stories, the drama. And it's exactly what Drive to Survive's doing now as well with what they show. And I just bought into that so much about this story aspect of F1. But some people hate it. They're just like, oh, you're scripting it or whatever like that. It's like, well, for one, I can't even script it.
But they're watching it.
Honestly, like, I'll have some mad race. And honestly, I think people legitimately think I've somehow modded the game to make X driver crash at this point, to make this driver spin at this point, this driver overtake this person now. I'm like, I've just played the game.
Yeah.
I've modded the liveries to like
Right.
make like an Audi
Yeah,
livery.
yeah,
early
They
on.
look amazing.
Yeah. So I've done like visual mods to change the visuals,
not the
of
actual gameplay.
but the actual like what the AI do.
Yeah.
There's not a mod out there. If you could mod it, best
that
believe
would
I would
be-
be trying
yeah.
to
You'd make
use
the
it.
game even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Those AI are chaotic.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
just leave it at that.
Yeah, but I'm at the mercy of what these AI do in terms of the storyline of it. And I've always said, like, I basically just base my story off what the game does. Like, you know, like I had this season, like in season 3 of the current series, where Haas went from the worst team and the AI team upgraded and just skyrocketed and they became the best team. And I was there like, what? I was like, well, how have you done it? So I had to work in a story. So the next season I said, oh, because Haas upgraded, invested so much and became the best team, Repsol now want to sponsor them. So they become Repsol Haas the next season.
Oh my God.
And I just had to
That's
work off what the game gave me. But you've got like people like, you know, like Brian63 on Twitter going like, oh, you've scripted it. Like, I'm like, yeah, if I could do that, I wish I could, because I could then form the story myself. But I'm at the mercy of the game. Or like, you know, I had this one season where I had 6 engine failures in a 16 race season.
What?
Painful, really painful.
Ferrari.
None of my no.
Whoa. We'll beep that one out.
I was driving for, it was like my team, and I was partnering in the story. I was partnering Audi.
Cool.
So, but I had 6 failures in 16 seasons. You don't think that I got really frustrated with that? Because I'm trying to actually fight these AI in the championship, and I keep getting knocked down 0 points, 0 points. To the point where I was like to my girlfriend, I was like the 5th time it happened, I was like to her like, yeah, so I finished my recording early, so I can probably meet you earlier today. And she was like, oh, why? Because I had an engine failure within 5 laps of this race. And she was like, again? and she was like, are you sure the game's not bugged? And I was like, I don't know what's wrong with my save. Maybe it is bugged for this season. But people thought I modded in my engine failures. But it's like, no, if I'm losing content. Like, if you have a failure on lap 5 of a 36 lap race, you've lost 20 minutes of a video that I can't make, so I actually lost content, and I was actually getting really peeved off because I was like, can I actually still be in this championship fight?
Yeah.
I didn't to make it to the end.
Against Repsol Haas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Unbeatable.
So, yeah, I still get people that just don't gel with the concept of doing a story driven series. Like they want either like, you know, like my friend Ben, who's a fellow creator, he just does bog standard kind of, you know, just going through the game, driving as fast as you can, which is fair, like completely fine. He's a lot quicker than me, so he does higher AI. So it's just more about like how quick he can go. And even with like Jarno Otmir, he does 110 AI. So you watch him because you're just impressed by the fact that he can beat these like computer perfect AI. Because like around like 105 to 110 AI, they're basically just perfect, like inch perfect. And I'm actually thankful that I am slow enough to be like in a kind of gray area of like, you know, 100 to 105 AI, because it's like they make more mistakes, they're a bit more human-like, and you get better races.
You're a bit more relatable too. Like,
Yeah.
I saw Jarno like drifting at 100 AI
nuts.
in Monaco on wet.
And
I'm
I was like,
yeah,
I'm
what?
just not going to be able to do that.
Yeah. So yes, but you say, you know, people have different flavors for what content they want. But obviously, you do get some people who are like, you know, insistent on telling you why they don't like your content. But it's like, okay, just don't watch it then. If you don't like the story stuff, just don't watch my content. Watch someone else. Like I'm making this series for someone, you know, this person who buys in at season 1, and because I've got this story that interconnects, it's like a payoff, like watching a Netflix series. Like, you know, if they watch all the way through all the 6 seasons, they know the lore of this game. Like every game, I now call it like an alternate F1 universe on every game, and every game that comes out, we reset it and we go again and we make a whole new we make a whole new story. I always say the commentary lines at the end of a game cycle, when like we're coming to the end of the current game and going to the next one, I'm like, in the commentary for the last episode, I'm like, right, so that's it, that's the final page of the book, we're going to make a whole new book in the next game, so that's it, thank you for watching. And then the next one we go, right, fresh slate, you know, what's going to happen, and people buy into it. Of like, you know, in my series, Vettel became a 6-time champion.
I saw that. I was like,
Let's
let's go.
They were so gassed about that, and then like he retired, and so I made a story about how he makes his own team and becomes a team principal. And for someone who watched from season 2, seeing him win those 2 championships in the game on my series, that, you know, it's like a payoff. It's like a big payoff of like, you know, any big series like Game of Thrones or something like that, or, you know, Night Agent, a payoff of like like even a twist or turn of like, oh, I've moved to Ferrari in my team series, and it's like a twist, and it's just a payoff. But you're always gonna have people that don't like it, but it's like, I know what content I want to make.
Yep.
Just don't watch it. Just don't watch it. And you kind of learn to just ignore that and tune that out and just really focus on actual critique of like, oh, this video is a bit long or this could be shorter or whatever. And you kind of learn as a creator to block it out and find the actual right criticism to actually improve maybe.
Right.
And just enjoy it still, no matter what, random anonymous people on Twitter.
Yep.
Just mute. The mute feature is the best feature in the world on Twitter because they keep talking to you, but they don't know that you're listening.
I didn't know you can do that.
Yeah, you can mute.
He's like,
I'm not even on Twitter.
Okay,
Twitter's too confusing. It's too chaotic.
If you were, your life's just been opened up.
Yeah. Mute.
Yeah.
All the comments I'm getting for hacking. Thank you.
You can start muting them now.
Yeah, exactly.
Last question here. I think this is so left field, but I think outside of just you as a creator, people want to know who Lando is off the camera. Who is he off camera?
He's literally what you see on camera.
Really?
Okay.
Okay.
He's actually so chill. He's so chilled out and just nonchalant, and he's really down to earth and just like, he's not like putting on a face or whatever. Like, like you'll see sometimes in interviews, people say he's being a bit cheeky or whatever, or sarcastic. That's him in real life. Like, especially with Max, his best mate, Futrell, like the both of them like play off each other so much in recordings and stuff like that. And obviously he's got such a busy schedule. So there are times where like, he's come off a very busy schedule and he might be a bit tired or whatever. So we have to do a bit more legwork of, us building up the video and whatever like that. And then sometimes he's so on form and he's so funny and he's so on it and energetic. But what you get on camera is what you see. He's so chilled out, down to earth. Like, will, actively joke with us and whatever in videos and stuff like that. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it's just exactly what you see on the tin. There's no charades or anything like that.
There you go.
But that's definitely also like that question. That's what we get a lot.
Yeah.
Like, what is he like? And it's like exactly the same. Yeah. That's it. And also at the same time, I don't hang out with him. Like, I don't know him personally. I know him when we record stuff. But when we record stuff, he's chill. He's a good guy. Yeah, he's also really funny when he wants to be, like really on it. And you see it in interviews sometimes, he can be really cheeky or sarcastic with some answers or whatever like that.
He comes across very easygoing.
Yeah,
like
easygoing is the word. Yeah, really easygoing, and obviously he's bloody quick. And I think he's got this great ability to just switch on. Like I think you've seen it sometimes when you watch him on the feed, and he looks so serious and dialed in. I think he's got that really good thing of like just like he can have a laugh, and then when he gets to F1, he's at the circuit, dialed in, turn everything off, in the zone, and then he can duck out of it when he's back in the UK and whatever like that, and recording with us, he can actually have a laugh and whatever. And he's just one of the stars of F1, and he's going to go so far, hopefully. Obviously, right now, it's a bit of a struggle with where McLaren is, but I think everyone can see the talent he has, but at the same time, it's great that he has this personality to go along with it that's so down to earth.
What's your hot take on the current season so far?
Well, it's all looking a bit Red Bull, isn't it? I'm getting some big 2014 vibes of like, ish all Red Bull like it was Merc. The only problem is we don't have a Rosberg to Verstappen's Hamilton, like it's
Checo's struggling a little bit.
Yeah, like when he won Jeddah and he said there's all this stuff come out like I can go for the championship.
Oh yeah, and they deleted it.
And then the mistake in quali in Australia, and I'm like, you can't be saying all this stuff and then just make a mistake.
I
think he was struggling because even in the free practice, he messed up every lap.
Right.
Where he even said afterwards, he said when he braked, he became a passenger.
Yeah.
But he fought back hard in the race.
He did, yeah.
That race was amazing to watch.
Yeah. It's Red Bull have done a stunning job. Like you can't knock it, and F1 is very much about being the best. There's no funny business as much as like the FI want to throw out as many red flags as they want to try and make it entertaining.
Change the rules on the go.
In terms of the actual cars, it is very much like it's a numbers game. It's just mathematics, it's engineering. The stopwatch doesn't lie, so everyone else just needs to do a better job. And it's the same. Toto Wolff, as much as maybe Red Bull fans want to take the piss out of him, he does say it how it is. He's like, fair play. They've done a great job. We need to do so much better, and everyone does. I mean, like Ferrari, for instance. Like if you really look at it, I think it's actually more so the fact that Ferrari just went backwards and why it looks so much worse. Like if Ferrari kept their progression from 2022, I think you would look a bit closer, but it's because they went backwards as Aston went forwards.
Yeah.
It means there's this big gulf between Red Bull and where Aston are, basically.
Austin took jumps though. They took leaps and bounds to move up. Where
Mad. Like, I think they've already scored the same number of points
Yeah.
in 3 rounds as they
Their
did
whole
all of
season.
last year.
No.
Yeah.
Mental.
Yeah.
Yeah, 55 points, I think
Yeah.
it was last year. They've already scored 56.
Wow.
It's huge. So
That's insane.
yeah, that's interesting. Stories like that are really great for F1.
And then Ferrari, what was it? Ferrari haven't scored this least amount of points since like we're going back a few years
Yeah.
now.
I mean, literally, we're talking Leclerc at 6 points, tied with
Oh
Hulkenberg.
yeah, no.
Are
Oh,
you kidding
Hulkenberg.
me?
Oh
isn't he
my God.
behind Hulkenberg? Yeah, he's
Yeah,
behind
yeah.
Hulkenberg,
Tied,
isn't
he's
he?
tied.
Tied,
He's
Tied, but
tied.
still behind.
tied.
That's
Like,
crazy.
That's just
He's mental. Like he's got to be struggling.
Yeah.
Like he really needs to kind of hit the reset and try and focus again.
I thought about this, like is he thinking about leaving or whatever? But I'm also like, at the same time, to be fair, he's in a Ferrari. Like, it's
Yeah.
always going to be good. He's always going to get back there. He's just had a rocky start. Obviously, reliability hasn't helped.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. Sometimes F1, I feel like when you have like reliability issues and you have like a bit of a stumble, things just keep on happening to you. So like the Australia one, like it was just a bit of an incident.
Yeah.
But I almost felt like because of the rocky start, these incidents are just attracting to him.
They build up.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to get into your own head. So he needs maybe a bit of a reset, jump back up. I think we've got a weird spring break right now in F1.
Yeah.
Because we lost the Chinese GP,
Yep.
so we've got this weird 4-week break.
And then it's going to be condensed.
Yeah, so let's hope that kind of resets him and
Yeah.
resets everyone a little bit. Gives them time also to make upgrades. I think a lot of people are talking about bringing upgrades to Imola.
Yep.
I think Merck are
Yep.
fast tracking their upgrades to Imola.
Yep.
I think the same for others. So we'll see at Imola hopefully if anyone's made any strides
Right.
versus Red Bull.
Yep.
But this weird. The calendar's so weird.
Yeah.
We went to Australia, got a 4-week break.
Yeah.
Then we're going to Baku, isn't
Yep.
it? Then
Yep.
Miami.
So then we go to so we go to in Europe in Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
Then we're flying all the way to Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we're coming
Imola.
all
Back
They're
to
all the way back to
Europe.
Imola.
Yeah.
Imola.
It's
Yep.
just like, and that's back to back, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yep.
It's so condensed. It's
Yeah,
back to back.
Yeah.
It's
ridiculous.
mental. Like,
Oh.
I know the one from Monaco to Canada is weird, but that's like for whatever it's a really big tradition that we've
Yep.
always had Monaco to Canada back
Yeah.
to Europe.
Yeah.
But the Miami one's a bit weird because I'm like, couldn't they have done Miami in the 4-week gap here? But I
Yeah.
guess also locals were saying, it's hurricane season maybe in Miami. Or,
Yeah.
Oh,
And
you
it's
know, it might be
also no
colder.
football.
Oh,
They
yeah, that
use
as well.
Football,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because I saw what was it? I did a GeoGuessr video, and it was like F1 GeoGuessr,
Yeah.
and it was like obscure ones, and one of the obscure ones for Miami was just a photo in the stadium, and I was like, oh yeah, I keep forgetting there's an actual football stadium right there, and the F1 track's in the parking lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the calendar's a bit messed up, but yeah, I mean, if you're a new F1 fan, all I'll say is strap yourselves in because this is F1. Like this is a typical year in F1. I think we talked about it on the first version of
Yep.
this. Like anyone who got into F1 in 2021,
Spoiled.
F1's been
Yeah.
ruined for you
Yeah.
because we all know if we
Yeah.
watched for a while that was not an all year. That
No.
was so extraordinary. The fact that we went into the last race level on points, that has probably never happened
Yeah.
in
No.
the sport,
Yeah.
and probably will never happen for another 50 years.
Yeah.
And they were so well matched as well.
Yeah, like that's not F1. That was, you know what that was? That was a byproduct of what COVID did to F1 because we had obviously the cars carrying over for basically 3 years because the 2019 car into 2020, obviously they delayed the season, so everyone developed a bit more, remotely or whatever, and then we got to 2020, and that was that car, and then 2021 was meant to be what
The
we
new-
got in 2022,
Yeah.
the new
Yeah.
regs.
Yeah.
So they had almost 3 years of kind of very stable regulations, and it brought everyone so close. And this happens at F1 all the time when you have a regs change. Everything gets blown up.
Yeah.
And you do get a chance for Aston to jump up, and obviously 09 we had Brawn GP getting up there with the regs change. You do get that chance, but you also have the chance for a dominant team.
Dominance,
Like
yeah.
2014, Merck just
Yep.
bulldozed it. That's F1. And then you got to kind of buy in, kind of almost buy your ticket for the long haul of like, hopefully by 2026 when the new engine regs come in, maybe 2025, we might have a close championship again. And then obviously it'll go out again because the engines will change. Undoubtedly, there'll be like one of these manufacturers just has like a GP2 engine again.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I'm really worried about that. I'm really worried one of the manufacturers won't get it right. and they'll be in trouble or something like that.
Yeah.
I really hope Audi get it right. I would love Audi
Yes.
to come straight in and be competitive. I would love that.
That'd be incredible. That would be awesome fun to see, and I think it'd actually add like so much value to like new people that are looking to come into the sport as well.
Yeah.
To be like, this actually is possible.
To have a brand like Audi,
Exactly.
like I'm sure there's so many like Americans or like even Canadians, whatever. Like Audi is a big car brand, really fancy car brand, and for to come into F1 and be competitive would be such a great thing. Of like, I'm sure there'll be people who have an Audi that will just start watching F1 because
100%.
They definitely
They'll
will.
be like, it's my time to shine.
It'll be the same thing with Ford, even more so.
Oh, yeah.
There'll be like some proper Americans.
Oh yeah, the
that are
pride.
like, oh, come on, brother. Ford brothers, come on. We've got to back Red Bull Ford. Like, they'll just get into it because it's a Ford.
Yeah.
There's some excitement coming up. But this year, it's just about leveling your expectations, really, I guess. I mean, I don't know about you guys. Do you reckon anyone will make any strides on Red Bull? Or?
It depends on their penalty coming in post summer break.
That comes in July, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
the
July.
Wind tunnel.
Yeah.
But Adrian Newey has a wind tunnel in his brain. Like, that man.
That's a line right there.
That's a quote.
Yeah, that's a line.
That's an amazing phrase.
Now maybe I read that somewhere, but like that guy,
amazing,
that guy is a genius.
That is amazing.
That'll be the thumbnail for this video.
That's incredible.
Someone needs to make a meme of that.
Yeah.
Just him, when he stares at cars on the grid.
Oh, yeah.
just like in his head,
Running it.
just like a wind
tunnel.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like I saw a meme of like this is what Adrian Newey, like how he sees real life, and it was someone who's like I think high up in altitude or whatever on a bridge, and like he takes a video of his feet. And like the air's moving around, and it's like aerodynamics around the shoes, and he's like, "This is how Adrian Newey looks like."
But like that's what I mean. I think Red Bull are there, but for me, I love the mid-pack battles.
Yeah,
That's what makes it
yeah.
exciting. Like, look at Hulkenberg last race.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
yeah.
Albon's coming back. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's what's cool.
Yeah, there's cool. I think a lot. Yeah, I think new F1 fans. I think they kind of got that a little bit from Drive to Survive because they did champion a few of these little stories.
They get to know the individuals more, and it builds like as a series. It builds a relationship with them. Like,
yeah,
you
exactly.
understand them.
Yeah. And I think there's also like loads of, like you said, loads of stories up and down the grid. Like there's little inter battles, into team battles with Alpine per se, with Gasly and Ocon crashing, and their history and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting. I would love to have been a fly on the wall in a debrief. Can you imagine?
Just
It'd be
listening
so
to that.
toxic, or not even potentially toxic, just like quiet. I think both of them are
What
probably
were they
the
on
silent
for? What were
treatment
they
guy.
on for? Was it a 5-6?
5-6.
5-6, yeah.
They need.
Yeah, it would have been good. I mean, especially for Gasly, the whole race he stayed there.
Yeah.
Like he must have been
Gutted.
peeved.
Yeah.
Gutted. Yeah. And Alpine need those points.
They
Because,
do.
like,
big
McLaren gained from all that chaos
Yeah.
when they shouldn't have, probably. And so, like, McLaren are back ahead of Alpine in the championship all of a sudden. So they're maybe going to rue those points later on in the season when it comes down to a couple of points, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, that wraps up Q2. Henny and Mikey, verdict.
Thumbs up over here.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm
Green?
giving
Green?
it green. Yeah.
Very good green.
Like that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love
I
it.
think Brian 63 gave you a yellow though.
Yeah. He's still stuck on yellow.
Anyways, guys, check out the rapid fire round. It's coming out very soon. Welcome back to the Track Limits podcast. We're now getting into our final segment, which is the rapid fire round. Arv, you ready to go?
Yes.
Second time though.
Yeah.
Let's see if you could do a better job and potentially more rapid, more fire
Yeah.
answers.
I'll keep it succinct.
Here we
Alright.
go. First question. If you had to choose one platform to post forever on, which one would it be?
YouTube.
Okay.
Defo.
Okay, I'm about to show you a photo. This
Okay.
is a photo of you doing an interview on BBC. What was going through your mind during this moment?
That is, my mind was on, okay, would I fake this conversation I'm having, or I think I was having a convo with the reporter, but I was just like talking absolute waffle. It was for a piece for like Veloce, like when like obviously esports was just growing,
Yeah.
so they wanted to do like a piece. That was so long ago. That was like in our old office, like this old townhouse in like an old Veloce jumper. And just talking to some reporter about like, oh yeah, I do these videos.
Love it.
Love it. Of the social media platforms, which one would you delete forever?
Instagram. Yeah.
Insta?
I like using it, but it's really bad for your mind with like comparison with people and like just like mentally, I think.
I was thinking LinkedIn maybe, but anyways, it's fine. I like
Nah,
that.
LinkedIn's funny. I like laughing at people on LinkedIn because they take themselves too seriously.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Who was the last person you texted? Gotta pull your phone out for that.
Probably, I think it was my girlfriend, probably just like about coming here, basically.
Fair day. Yep.
Okay.
Honorable.
What regulation change would you institute?
The tyres. I prefer the 2011 era of Pirelli, where you did like 4 stops at Spain, 3 stop, normal, 2 stop. I hate these 1 stops. So Pirelli tyres, bring back the wearing ones. Yeah.
Okay. Which driver would you trust to drive you around a track blindfolded?
I mean, I've got to say Lando, but I also kind of low-key wouldn't trust him. I feel like he would try and scare me on purpose. Bottas, calm and collected.
Wow.
Stable character there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. The greatest driver of all time, in your opinion?
It's tough. You can't compare eras. I always say that.
If you had to.
But if I have to, I am going to go with... this is really tough. I'm going to go with... I'm just going to go with Schumacher for his ruthlessness.
Okay.
If you're an F1 driver, what team would you pick?
Oh, depends who's faster. Who's fastest? That.
He's like, I just want the win.
Who's the I guess I think McLaren, not just because of Lando, but I've always had affiliation because I used to support. Well, I still do love Jenson Button and used to drive for McLaren, so I have a lot of love for McLaren. Soft spot, but who's fastest?
Right.
2-parter of the current grid. Who would you want as a teammate, and then to follow up that, who would you not want as a teammate?
Right. Teammate, for practicality, Lando, because I'll just get on with him. Not. Ooh. I'm going to go for a really funny one, actually. I'm going to go for Zhou Guanyu because he'd show me up with how well dressed he is.
His
Man's
fashion.
got some style.
His
He's
fashion.
got some style.
Yeah.
Which F1 driver, other than Lando, has the best social media presence, in your opinion?
I would say I think Lewis. I think Lewis has obviously he's just such a cool guy. And I don't think he really cares what he does. He just posts what he wants whenever he wants.
Clearly.
So and everyone loves it. So it's just a good strategy to be that cool. Just to post whatever.
I think it's a Mercedes thing. Always posting half naked photos of each other. I don't know. It's weird. What's the most over asked question that you get?
How is Lando? Yeah. It's like, listen.
Is he single?
Or can you get this signed by Lando? It's like, I don't see him every day. It's like that usual. We're in a group chat, and any group chat, it goes dormant a bit from time to time. But that is definitely the most question with Quadrant. Pre-Quadrant, probably just when's the next video, or how are you doing? Yeah. Or if I see someone in person, how are you doing? How's the channel going?
Your favorite content creator?
Oh, this is a really left field one. He's not massive now, but it's this guy called Jericho. He's an American, and he does variety streaming on Twitch. And he's one of those creators I watched when I started out, at 300 subs. And he's one of the creators that inspired me. And to this day, I still watch him. I think my girlfriend said I've got a lot of my humor from him because I watched him as I grew up through my teenage years. So he kind of imprinted his humor on me. So I very much got the same sort of humor as him. So still love his content.
Cool. Which year had the best F1 game, in your opinion?
Oh, it's actually quite recent. Either F1 2020 or 2021, because 2021 had the story mode and my team, and 2020 obviously was the start of my team, which was just huge for everyone in the gaming space for F1, and also during lockdown, obviously massive time consumer. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Best or worst thing about being a content creator?
Best thing, getting to do what you love every single day. Worst thing, just never being able to switch off. Just like I said earlier, just constantly on all the time.
Fair. Funniest social media comment you've ever gotten?
This was back when I didn't do face cam. For a long time, I didn't do face cam. More of a confidence thing and not wanting to show my face, but then eventually started doing it. But the first time I did, there was a comment, and because of the way I speak, obviously I was born and bred here in London, so I've got a London accent. Someone was like, "Oh, I thought you were some lanky white dude."
Love it.
They must have been like, "Wow, okay,
yeah,
very interesting."
People can talk like this and not be white.
Worst mistake people make when posting content on social media, in your opinion?
I think uploading for the wrong reasons of why they want to do it, either chasing clout or chasing a number, and just not kind of doing it for the enjoyment, whether it's a video or even a photo on Instagram. You want to upload the photo because it's a cool photo, and not caring how many likes it gets, or TikTok will this bang, will it be funny? No, I just want to upload it. So I think that's a mistake people make sometimes, especially when starting out. You have to be just all about loving it.
Yeah. What's one piece of F1 memorabilia you own or want to own?
I think the only piece of memorabilia I own is like some mini helmets from like obviously Quadrant with Lando stuff. I've got a few Jensen Button ones. I've got this is a very specific one. I've got some tyre marbles from the 2011 British Grand Prix.
Oh, that's
because
dope.
that was the first Grand Prix I ever attended with my dad, and we went out on the track when the race was done and picked up some marbles.
Class. I love that.
That's it.
Yeah.
We should have done that when we were in
Yeah, I know.
Montreal.
They took it all.
Yeah, I
we
know.
walked the track.
Yeah, I know. We're just
Yeah.
still rubber in the
Yeah.
ground. We still could have
Yeah.
like
My friend tried to take home one of those sponsor boards at Spa. Yeah, yeah,
whole board?
yeah. Like the big Rolex one. Yeah. And actually, you can look this up and include it in the video. There's a clip he invented. So at Spa, everyone does at the end of the race. They surf the sponsor boards down the hill.
I seen that.
He invented that. Like, absolutely invented that. Because one year we went and he started doing it, and people saw him and videoed it, and then joined him in. And I think he started something because now every year they do that.
That's
nice.
Your most embarrassing moment while filming content? Doing shots of hot sauce? Lando?
That was less embarrassing, more painful. That was so painful. Embarrassing, just rookie errors. Like I did this like only 3 weeks ago. I did a whole video for my second channel in front of the camera, only to see the audio wasn't picking up. I did a whole 30.
We haven't had that issue
I
yet.
did a whole 30-minute recording, and I just was oblivious to
That's
the
so
audio.
sad.
So just a rookie error, which is just embarrassing on my part.
So disheartening as well. You're like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like, oh, for goodness sake.
yeah. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Ooh, time travel or time manipulation, just to give me more time to do stuff.
Yeah.
36 hours. Not Love it.
Yeah, or just travel back like to some good memories, like pre-COVID or whatever,
Yeah.
just how things were. Yeah.
Love it.
What celebrity would be a great fit to play a role as an F1 driver?
Ooh, this is an interesting one. I think RDJ. I think Robert Downey Jr. would be great for an F1 driver role because I think he's really good at playing that person who has a bit of narcissism about them, a bit of an ego, but at the same time is really clever. And because these drivers have to be really clever at engineering stuff because it's all in their brains about setting up a car. So I think he'd be quite good to do something. Obviously, one of his colleagues, Chris Hemsworth, literally did play an F1 driver. So I think any of those Marvel guys are actually quite good at being an F1 driver.
I mean, he did one in Iron Man 2. He did that.
yeah.
scene.
Oh, yeah.
he did. That was
My
Monaco,
team,
wasn't it?
Tony Stark.
Monaco,
Yeah, it's Monaco.
What's
Yeah,
Monaco?
he's literally already done a roll up. So.
Your favorite F1 driver lineup of all time?
What, like an actual lineup that's happened?
Yep.
That's happened, yeah.
It would have to be Jensen Button and either Fernando Alonso or Jensen Button and Lewis Hamilton. Just because Jensen Button's my favorite all-time driver, and obviously it's sick to be alongside Lewis or Fernando, two greats of the sport. Yeah, it was a good time to be a JB fan, seeing him go up against those two.
Nice.
Second last question. Share your prediction for the current F1 season, constructors and drivers champion.
I think it's going to be a big old Max dub.
Oh.
Big old Max dub.
Shocked.
I'm sorry to say. Constructors, I think Red Bull as well. I'm going to disagree with Russell's prediction. I don't think it'll be a Red Bull whitewash. There will be at least 3 races where rain, a crash comes into play, where someone else can win. But I think it's going to be a lot of Red Bull.
Okay. Your last question. You're writing autobiography on your life. Which one resonates with you the most? You got the daredevil, the dream catcher, the free spirit, or the hardest worker?
Hardest worker, definitely.
Yeah. We can see it.
Good to see that. To wrap up, though, and thanks, Aarava, again for doing this. This was incredible. I think actually, I don't know if you agree, but I think this was way better than the first one.
Yeah.
Way
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
Way better. We know the guy now as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
raced. He's
Yeah.
beaten me. So
So just to wrap up, the first question we asked was describe your life, obviously, in 30 seconds. Tell us in 30 seconds how you want to be remembered. Like, what sort of legacy do you want to leave behind?
I just think someone who enjoyed himself, enjoyed what he did as a job, like indulged in his passion for what it is, and obviously that's F1 for me, and just had fun with it. And then going off that last question of like also just worked as hard as he could to make the best life for himself as he could. I think that's something that got ingrained in me as a kid from my parents. So just working as hard as I can, but at the same time enjoying life and just sharing those moments. I think I've grown to appreciate sharing moments with friends and stuff a lot more recently. People telling me like, "Oh, this is sick," whatever like that. So yeah, I think just loving what I do and working hard at it because I love what I do.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Bam. That has to be the second best quote behind Wind Tunnel.
Yeah,
there we go.
That was
Honestly,
great.
that's a clip. That's a clip. That's a clip.
Love it.
I love that. Well, thanks again for coming on, Aarava. Where can people find you on social?
Yeah, so I'm Aarava on most things: YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. There might be an underscore before it, but Aarava on everything. And obviously, you can catch also Quadrant. I'm over there as well. But yeah, just Aarava on everything.
Perfect. You heard the man. If you guys like this episode, drop a review. Thanks again for watching this episode. And guys, we're going to see you guys in the next one.